Okay, good evening and welcome to the July 11th, 2022 City Council for the meeting for the City of Lamar. I'm Mayor Kirk Crespin. We have a fairly short meeting tonight, so we'll keep it short and sweet and try to get through the agenda pretty quickly. To start off with, it looks like we have Ray Madison, who will be doing our invocation. I think they have a mic for you there, Ray. Thank you.
Father God, we do come before you and we are grateful for all your blessings. We thank you for this great community that we get to be a part of and live in. And God, I thank you again for these leaders and their willingness to serve and to find the best ways to continue to lead our community. I pray, God, that you would give them wisdom and guidance. I pray, Father, for those who serve in so many different ways in the city. And I thank you for them as well. And I pray that you'll keep them safe as they do their jobs. And God, that you would just continue to bless this area with the rain and moisture that we need. And God, we thank you for all the ways that you do bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Joe, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the time is now 7:02 p.m. I will call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Joe Gonzalez.
Here.
Mike Bellamy.
Here.
Jerry Jenkins.
Here.
Kirk Crespin.
Here.
Oscar Riley. Manuel Temez.
Here.
Anne Marie Crampton. Here. Rob Evans.
Here.
Kristen Swartz. Here. Lance Clark.
Here.
All right, we've all had the consent agenda to review. Has somebody have anything that we need to separate out before voting to approve?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mike?
Unanimous in favor of.
All right, the next item on the agenda is audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject that does not appear on the agenda. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and that is at the discretion of the council. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak to the city council on any items? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. We do have, of course, like usual, we offer questions on Facebook. So if you do have questions, if time permitting, we will answer them at the miscellaneous items portion of the meeting. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is the city treasurer's report.
I
Kristen?
have nothing, unless you guys have questions.
Nothing for this evening. Any questions for the city treasurer? Seeing none, we will move on to the city clerk's report. Thank you, Kristen.
So our May sales and use tax collected in June was $386,231, which was up 1.85% or $7,025.14 from 2021. Our year-to-date collections were $2,429,568.55, which is up 2.33% or $55,295.83. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for the city clerk? Seeing none, we will move on to the city administrator, Rob.
All right. As we talked about last time, I'm going to start introducing departments in the city. For my Coffees with Rob, you'll have a chance to talk to all of our great employees. And we all know how the police handle our new bagels and lattes and stuff like that. So go up and I'll buy you some coffee. And you'll get to be able to talk to them as well. The farmer's market, July 16th at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. I will be there for that one. I believe I'm going to try and sign up. I've got stuff coming in my garden already, so I'm going to try and go up there and see what's going on. I really love farmers markets, and I encourage everybody else to come up there. I know the local stuff, all the hail and everything, sort of set some people back, but I think it's pretty neat. Those are projects updates. Just, we mentioned all of the great work that the employees do, and they've been doing a lot of storm clearing. There've been a lot of limbs that were pulled off to the side and put down there, and our guys have been working really hard, and I want to tell Pat and those guys they've been, and Rick at the parks, that thank you for all the work they've been doing. I do believe that, let's see, there's been a couple of wells that we've had to work to get back up. They had gone down, and they had to do some work in there, but I believe that those are back up and running now. And I wanted to say thanks for that as well. Now, I got mine backwards on the projects update, this North Fork grade, Mr. Hume. I was wanting to put that in a miscellaneous because I just had questions about with you guys about what had happened and how long, if there had been a timeline given or anything like that. But, so that's not actually a projects update. I was going to move that to my miscellaneous. I know that in here, I gave you guys a quarterly report from the library. And I believe that you guys used to have quarterly and department head type updates from each department. And I don't know if that died a horrible death or just slowly slid away or anything like that, but you guys' recommendations are always something that I want to take in. If you guys want those back, like maybe one per meeting, or do you want them all every meeting? Because that does make them pretty long if everybody gets up and speaks about what happened. So just a little guidance on that.
I think it's good, similar to your coffee with Rob, where you're focusing on a department. It's always good to give the council an update on what's happening in the different departments, even if it's, every 6 years or rotated through. But just to give us an update on what's happening in each department and any of the big projects they're working on, that would be helpful. I do see that, you generally leave the reports at the end of the council packet that gives us more details. And I'm not sure if the council has reviewed all of those, but there really is some great information. For instance, right now for this meeting, there was some utility revenue reports where we have some comparisons to this year compared to last year for water, sewer, electrical, just to get an idea. But they've always added those in the back, but it may be good to take one out every meeting and highlight one.
I might even get some of them up there to practice some public speaking and say hello to everybody and talk to the council here.
What do you guys think? Could that be a good idea?
I do like that idea.
Manuel?
That's fine.
Anne Marie?
All right, thank you.
Mike?
I
Okay.
really liked the library one because I never knew that our library was this utilized until you actually see the photographs of the kids in the library instead of sitting at their home computer.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time. Kids are utilizing the library quite often.
So do you want it once a meeting, or do you want one department a month?
I'd say at least one department.
No, that's
Would that be
good.
okay?
To start off with.
I'm going to start off with letting Treasury take some of my time to give a little quick update.
I forgot to do that on my report. I was going to give you an update on the Cdot grants. I know that we haven't been back to talk about them, and we had reported that we had applied for the Sidewalk Grants. We were also trying to finish up one that Morgan had started with the bike repair stations. It ended before it expired before we were able to finish that grant. Her and Steve had put in there for the fire pit for the pocket park. And it turned out that was not going to be a feasible project. We just could not get gas to it, and the project stalled out, then it expired, and we had applied 2 applications, one for the east side sidewalks and for the west side sidewalks, to work in conjunction with the Main Street project. And we had a horrible time with Cdot. They had some personnel changes. We didn't get our extensions. We didn't get the POs on the grants that we were awarded. And I just want to give a shout out to Craig and Brenda. They have stayed on that. The 3 of us were sending out weekly emails to Cdot. We finally got some movement last week, actually got Cdot to respond to us. They're going to give us an extension on that first grant, and we're going to end up trying to do the sidewalk, if they approve it, by the max, and then work on getting a few extra pots above what we had applied for with SECED And then we got approved for an extension on the east side of the sidewalks, and we haven't seen it yet, but we feel like that it's in the works and they are going to award us that. And then they saw where we had applied for the other side, couldn't find our paperwork, so they allowed us to resubmit and let us go for the full $125,000 for that side. And so we're making a decision on the 13th this week on that one as well. So I just wanted to update you guys because I know that one had stalled out and it was pretty, important grants that we'd have been awarded through that multimodal grants that Cdot was offering. So I just had forgotten to give you an update during my report on that. So, and I just really commend Craig and Brenda for their diligence on that because it's just, they've been nonstop trying to get it to find somebody that could help us get this pushed through. So I just wanted to.
So we are moving forward
We
with the
are.
sidewalk grants and we'll
No, we will
hopefully
just
get
wait.
some more answers on that.
Yeah, we'll just wait for the 2 extensions that we're waiting on. We'll have to have the paperwork before CDOT will let us proceed. We'll go out for bid for the construction of those sidewalks, and then we're waiting on the PO
Okay.
after the 13th on that third one, so.
Well, it
then
seems
we'll be
like
able
we'll
to
have a little
proceed
bit of
forward.
time there with the reconstruction of main surf, the resurfacing, so
And-
we'll have some time.
Right, and we've asked for a year extension on those first 2, and they didn't see a problem granting us that. So probably September of '23 would be the end date on those 2, but
Okay.
that'll allow us to get quite a few sections of that sidewalk done on Main Street. Yes.
I apologize. Did you give a number on the CDOT grants for the sidewalks? On how much?
Okay, so that first one that we had wasn't actually for sidewalks, but it was a $39,000 grant, and we spent $7,000 of it, so we have the balance of that one.
To go towards more sidewalks?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we had one for $100,000, which actually is $110,000 with our match, and then one for $125,000.
Okay. And that's all for sidewalks?
It is, those second 2. I
These are
spoke
for
of,
Main
the
Street
100.
sidewalks,
Yeah.
for Park South. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they're pretty substantial in the fact that now that they're doing the resurfacing from Park Street south to Savage Avenue, that's where we receive the grants for each side of that. And by having the ADA accessible sidewalks, we'll have them from College all the way to Pizza Hut. That'll be completely ADA accessible
So
sidewalks.
that's what you meant by the other side? when you
Yeah,
said-
I'm
okay.
sorry. It was that section
west
down
side.
there, and
Yeah.
it's the
East
east
side
and the
and west
west
side.
side
Oh,
of that
nice.
section down there.
Okay.
So we should be able to do both sides of Main Street, which currently that's not the case, so it'll be pretty significant.
Thank you.
Apologize, thank you.
I don't know.
Is there any other questions on the grant part before we move on?
Nope, I'm fine.
And then they were asking about the review with the department heads. Did you want that per meeting or per month?
Do 1 per month.
Per month.
One per month?
One per month?
Okay, that's
That
good.
work? Okay.
Can we get all the departments in 1 year?
Yes,
Okay.
In one?
in 1 year. I will,
In
yeah,
1 year.
I will get them to you up
In
front.
1 year,
I
okay.
don't know if there's more than 12
Robert,
departments.
do you happen to know the success of the Windmill Classic? Anybody know?
Oh.
Came out?
That was fun time.
Somebody won.
Somebody won?
It was one of them out of Denver that
Losses
won.
Unlimited did not win.
And he was ready for it to be over. That's what I got to say.
It wasn't.
He said it was a good event. That's all
How
I
many
got.
teams
people
are
out
there,
there.
you know?
13? 13 or 14.
I was thinking 14, but
Yeah, it was a pretty busy weekend. There was quite a few visitors for that windmill tournament in town. I went to the restaurant 2 or 3 times, different restaurants, and they were completely full when I did go. So I know it does make a large impact on our community, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of those in the future.
The team that we sponsored, we catered every night, for lunch and for dinner for them guys. And, they had some late nights. They were playing ball around 11 o'clock. Their next game started around 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. All right, so we will move on from the city administrator's report to reports and correspondence from the council.
I think, wasn't you gonna ask something about?
Oh, I asked you guys about the Mr. Hume and that, in the miscellaneous portion, was there a deadline as far as, I know that he'd come back one time and discuss, I know that it's been a long time.
So we had a lease on it, and with the lease, he was able to lease the property. We had offered him the funding to utilize to do his renovations, to repurpose it, but he hasn't requested any of the funds as of right yet, has he?
No,
So,
and it doesn't.
and the lease has an end date, and if he doesn't have it completed by the lease, it's his responsibility to
I'll
tear
reach
it
out to
down
him
at
and talk
his
to him
cost.
again.
So,
We have to.
yeah,
Do you want a copy of that?
Yes, please.
so we could do that and get that to you.
Okay.
But, so it would be good to touch base with them and have the introductions and see what the project and the process is and where they're at. So that would be good.
Thank you, Linda.
And he has been paying the lease, correct?
Yes, they're making leases.
So the lease
Yes.
payments are all
Yep,
working
they're up to
fine
date.
and everything's up to date? Okay. All right, reports and correspondence from the council. Are there any reports, board reports, council reports?
I don't have any.
I don't have any.
Nothing.
The only ones that I have, all the council received a invitation here from Pryor's Medical Center, who will be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony on July 27th at 9 a.m. for their new in-house MRI suite. So that's a great one, that it's a huge investment for our community, huge investment for Pryor's Medical Center. So I'm excited to see that, and I hope the council will join me at that ribbon cutting ceremony. I think it'll be a good event to find out more about it. Let's see, there was also a email that I'd received today from the Office of Governmental Relations, Outreach and Engagement from the University of Colorado. They are doing an outreach tour on behalf of the University of Colorado President and Board of Regents. They'll be in town on the 25th, meeting with Linda Lujan at LCC, and they'd invited the council and myself to meet with them as well on July the 25th. So I will share that out to the council for you to review it, and if you can make it, that would be great. Another quick update that I wanted to give you was on our City Buy app. We do have the city app that'll be coming up here pretty soon. We are at the point right now where we are getting ready to launch the beta test app to our partners, our MOU partners. As you may remember, we had Lamar Community College, we had Lamar Light and Power, Lamar Chamber of Commerce, PEP, Pryor's Economic Prosperity, and who else was
PMC.
PMC, Pryor's Medical Center. So there were 5 different partners with us on this app. We've seen some of the information on the app, and we'll be sending out the beta testing software for them to try out over the next week. Aside from that, I think that's it for now. So we will, if there's anything else, no questions, move on to the next item on the agenda. The appointment to the Adjustment and Appeals Board. This was brought in by Craig Brooks. But
I'll take it for him.
all right, Rob?
I go to those meetings as well, and basically, Rich Maggart, his term expired. He agreed he would want to do it again, and the board put their recommendation that, let him do it again. So that's what they recommended to the council.
I move we reappoint Rich Maggart to the Adjustment and Appeals Board.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Emery. Joe. Joe. Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the opioid settlement funds. This was initiated by Chief Kyle Miller. This is to discuss options for the opioid settlement funds that have come in from the state.
So the state entered into that agreement with the big 3 opioid producers. I believe it was last year that the settlement came out after the lawsuit was filed. The state broke it down by population and some other variables in there of how much money each community would receive. According to the email that we received, the first year we would get about $29 $102.15, and then I think it's $15,000 or $1,500 every year thereafter for 18 years. The caveat with this is we have to track it. It's federal funds. So Kristen would have to report that and track that for $1,500. And there's a very, I don't want to say limited number of items we could use that for, but there's a very specific number of items that we can use that money for. What we can also do is opt out of receiving this, and it goes to our region. Our region is already, I can't remember how many counties it is, but it's the whole southeast corner of Colorado. And that's where that money's going to go. And then we have a 2-year plan, which I believe is attached to your agenda item that we've been working on for 6 months or so, what we would do with that money. My suggestion is to opt out and let the region have that money, because then that can go to the greater good. And $1,500 for us isn't that much money for us to have to track. I think it might cost us more money to track it and make sure we're using it correctly than what we would receive. So my suggestion is to opt out.
Is there any point where you can opt back in?
Yes, every year. If at some point we decide, man, we could use that $1,500 for something, we can opt back in at any time.
Does it have to be used within the year? I mean, as far as, can you say, well, we're tracking it, we have a plan for it, but we're waiting till next year to,
So it wouldn't be a cumulative, so every year the region would get the $1,500 or the $2,500 in the first year. So every year we'd have an option for $1,500. It wouldn't be, so we wait 10 years, then we have $15,000 sitting.
right?
It would just be the $1,500 every year.
I guess what I'm saying is that if you
Pool year.
don't, if you don't utilize it,
It is use or lose.
Yep, it goes to the region. Every year, if we say we opt out, every year that $1,500 goes to the region. If we say we want to opt in, then we get that $1,500 for that year.
And we have to use that $1,500 during that year.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yep.
We believe the county and some of the other people we've discussed this with, they're doing the same thing.
The vast majority of the communities and counties in southeast Colorado are opting out. I think there's only 1 or 2 that has said they want to opt in and take the money.
so I think as long as we have the option to opt in future years, then if we're seeing that, that's something that we have usage for, then we'll do that. So I think
That
that's.
was my understanding.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So let's say our region gets $10,000-$15,000 for the year. Do they use those funds somewhere?
Yes, that's the 2-year plan you have attached. That's kind of the proposed 2-year template. Then we're going to RFPs to kind of go out and say, this is the areas we want to send that money to. And then we're going to have RFPs come in, and then we're going to decide where that money goes from there. The first year allocation, the region gets $2.3 million. So it's a chunk.
And it goes by population, if I remember right.
Right.
So that's why Pueblo was receiving a pretty large chunk of that.
And Pueblo County is the fiscal agent too. So
Right.
that's, and again, they get a whole big chunk of it.
Yep. I did attend, at the CML conference, I did attend a meeting, and it was discussing the opioid options, but a lot of the smaller communities were doing as they recommended, which is opting out and letting it go to the region for a regional project rather than a direct city. So that is pretty common. Any questions for the chief?
I don't have any.
I move we opt out and allow those funds to go back to the region.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to opt out and allow the funds to go to the regional project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
All right, so next item on the agenda is the post grant. This is also initiated by Chief Miller. Chief?
I got all my stuff in at the right time because it's all on one agenda.
Yeah.
So this is the post grant. March 28th, we received permission to apply for it. We applied for $5,603.61 worth of items. We were granted that full amount. I'm just asking permission to accept this. There is no signature or anything required from the state. It's just they're saying, here's your money, and we get to go.
And this is for the Peace Officer Standards and Training, the post funding. Does the council have any questions for the chief?
I don't. we've received this grant in the past?
Yeah, multiple years.
I move we accept the grant award.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept the grant award. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
And again, Chief is up again with a memorandum of understanding with Advantage Treatment Centers Incorporated. Chief?
I was contacted by Program Director Marcy Amrine about an MOU with us for them to be in compliance with the PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act. They requested an MOU with us to basically do what we would do anyways. If we get a call for service over there, we're going to go take care of it. This is just formalizing for the PREA standards that they have to abide by. So I'm just asking for the MOU to be approved and the mayor sign. And Lance has already reviewed it 3 or 4 times.
No issues with it.
So we would need a motion to approve and allow the mayor to sign.
I make a motion to approve the MOU and allow the mayor to sign it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the MOU and allow the mayor to sign. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5 is to award bid 42-010 for financing of the 2022 Ford pickup for the city administrator and allow the mayor pro tem to sign the lease agreement upon review. This was initiated by Kristen Schwartz, our city treasurer. Kristen?
Yes, we went out for bid. It was advertised on May 4th. I accepted bids until May 31st, opened bids on June 1st. All 3 banks, all 3 local banks that have been submitting bids for financing submitted their bid. And after careful review, talking to the banks and different things, it is my recommendation that we award the bid to Community State Bank at 3.75% versus 3.99% for the other 2 banks. So there was a substantial difference on that interest rate, big difference. And they will hold that bid for a year.
Okay. All right. Do I need to allow her to take over at this point since I'm
I think
abstaining?
just the signing of the, I don't know.
You
however
can abstain if you
Just
choose to, but you
Yeah.
can finish running the meeting.
Go ahead if you have a question. We really don't usually answer questions, but go ahead.
I'm wondering about the stewardship of this. Why are we accepting something with an interest rate of 3.75? I see that that's the lowest one. But when you look at the columns below that, the annual payment is $100 more if we go with Community State Bank. The total payments is just about $600 more by going with Community State Bank. The interest, $600 more.
They're
Total
not,
principal is the same for both of those. That I don't understand.
Okay.
Is a proper stewardship just because awarding it for the 3.75 compared to the 3.9?
it all depends on when we sign the agreement. And each bank presented a different timeline when they did their overall expenses. There aren't any additional fees, so it was all based on interest rate. They each did a different beginning to project out, but we don't know when we're going to get the pickup. We don't know exactly the date. So when we get the pickup and we enter into that agreement on that date, your 3.75 and 3.99 will be the interest rate for the overall life of that. So those costs were all based on different dates. And that's why I said it was very carefully reviewed. And that was the reason that is showing it like that, is because they each use different dates. So it really truly comes down to, we all know that the lowest interest rate will have the lowest overall cost.
That's
Because
not
if they had
what
all bid,
That's not what your papers show, though.
But it,
Overall cost,
it does, because they all use different dates.
I understand what you're saying.
And that affects the
I understand
interest
that.
rate,
But
or
don't
finish the-
tell me that it's the overall cost.
That
The
isn't going to-
overall cost,
That isn't going to be the overall cost. That was a guess based on a date that they guessed on.
So
One
if-
guessed in June, one guessed in May, and one guessed in December. But I know that we won't enter into that agreement until we get the pickup. And if I stood before all three of them, that 3.75 is going to have the lowest overall cost for the life of the lease. And it's very clear. Well, that's because of those dates. And they were a guess, so that, and there are no fees associated with
I
this.
just think
The
that's-
banks don't
that's kind of
charge,
shady,
it's
stewardship
not
of it.
shady stewardship. It's, everybody is smart enough to know that the 3.75, when we enter into the agreement, will have the lowest overall cost.
Because it's the same number of years? It's the
Same number of
time
years.
range? Okay.
Same timeline. But it does not start until we enter into that agreement when we receive that
I
pickup.
understand that, I have no problem with that.
So what we should have put in there,
there.
instead of showing the annual payments and the total payments,
Right.
we should have put just the principal and the interest rate as well as the,
Because
you have the term, whether it's 48 months or whatever.
That's correct.
you're comparing apples to oranges.
You don't
whenever
have
you're doing
how many
different
months are in each column, so it's just more of a, it looks like it's more of a, because if I do the math here, I'm not showing that it's the same amount of months.
If
So
I would
we
have
need to,
asked them all to start, but I don't have a start
a
date.
start date, but it needs to be a fixed term, I guess.
So we
and
are
I don't know if we
rewording
can
the RFPs going out from now on
do- Okay,
to give me the lowest interest rate that they will guarantee for a year. I'm simplifying it. I don't want overall cost because none of the banks charge me fees. 0 fees. So if I would have presented that agreement to them on the same day, the overall cost on the 3.75 will come in always, every day, all day, with lower overall interest. So, and that's the only difference between those 3 bids is going to be your interest in the amount you pay.
okay.
When we
So-
go out for bid, can we request that they close it on the same date, all 3 of them? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. I'm
request
just not
the
even
date
gonna
of
put that in
December,
there.
whether it's actually gonna be in
Yeah.
December or not.
I'm just going to put at closing, I want to know your lowest interest rate that you will guarantee me for a year. That's all I'm going to put in there. I don't want your overall cost. I don't want you to guess at the interest amount. I'm just the lowest interest rate. So we are rewording the RFP that I'm getting ready to send out a couple of more. We're going to simplify it because they can make it look different by using a later date in the year. So I just needed to clean it up. Sat down and talked to all 3 banks. They'll tell you all day long that lowest interest rate is going to give you the lowest cost. So my recommendation is to go with Community State Bank.
Okay.
I only have one question.
Yes, sir.
We budgeted $6,200 payment, $6,245 payment, but our payment's actually gonna be $9,536, so how are we gonna pay for that? Because it's actually not in the budget.
I will probably have to come back for a supplemental because the interest rates have varied so much. We started out the year getting interest rates of like 2.7, and just in this many months, they've gone up almost to 4%. So it's hard to budget. I mean, your budget's a guess based on what you know and the history, and that's the best I could do. So I will watch that capital budget. There's some things that we're not going to get this year, so I should have some room for that extra payment, and then we'll come back in that 23 budget and make sure that the payment is correct. And that's if I can get the pickup this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, what is council's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to award financing to Community State Bank and allow Mayor Pro Tem to sign lease agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to award to Community State Bank and allow the Mayor Pro Tem to sign. I will be abstaining. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
So we have council members Bellamy, Crampton, Jenkins, Tamiz voting yes, council members Crespin or Mayor Crespin and Councilmember Gonzalez abstaining.
Did you have a financial or a personal conflict there?
Well, those that I represent in Ward 3, had some very strong words to speak with me about the pickup, and so I need to just stick with that, those that I represent in Ward 3.
Well, I guess I was asking because we needed to clarify. Abstaining is when there's a conflict of interest. You would vote no.
Okay,
if
well, I
you
don't
wanted
have
to
a
vote
conflict
no.
of interest, then
That's what
my
I was-
vote would be no.
Okay, that's what I was just
Yeah.
clarifying. So in the future going
I'm not
forward.
for the truck, and I'm not against the truck.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's why I was asking. That's the only reason why I was asking. So we would know
Okay,
what the reasoning is.
sure. That's
We had
very
a
simple.
discussion about that before, as far as
Right.
just when to vote when and what types.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to create a big old ball of wax with that and
Oh,
stuff like
no,
that.
that's okay.
No.
Not a problem. I abstain because I obviously work at community
No, I
statement.
understand.
With the conflict of interest, I don't want to vote. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is to agenda item number 6. This is to approve the First Amendment to purchase agreement with RB Colorado of LLC. This was initiated by city administrator and myself both. They had contacted me last month, and in the last meeting I did, a citizen had asked what the status was with Arby's. They had some difficulties getting the surveys scheduled. They had difficulties getting the geotechnical site surveys scheduled, and they did need to request a Phase 2 environmental study as well. They have been working on all the different aspects of this. Everything's still full steam ahead. They do have the Phase 2 environmental assessment scheduled. However, it's just taking them longer. Our original contract gave them a deadline of July the 11th or July 12th. So this agreement just gives them enough time to complete the last survey that they need to complete and to finish off what they need to do so we can get this moving forward. So this amendment is on the purchase agreement to work with them on extending that amount. Am I missing anything there, Rob?
No, the review period was the key, is what he said he needed.
Okay.
Extended.
And Lance, you've had a chance to go through it all and everything.
I have, the only change is the
Date.
reference to the section, being that it was section 13D and not section 4.
We can change that.
Yeah.
And they made that change, okay.
If you didn't get a copy, an updated copy, I have.
Did you get one extra that she gave you?
Let me make sure I got that. I had it here on the side. Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's your updated one that should have those correct.
Okay, and it just had the updated to the section 13D. Okay. From 4D, okay. All right, council, what would you like to do?
And they do have one additional 30-day, they can make one additional 30-day.
One more on top of
Yeah.
this?
But that's all that else is allowed in the purchase agreement, so I haven't heard that that's going to be needed, but they do have one additional continuance.
Okay.
I move we approve the First Amendment and have the mayor sign it.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amendment, allow the mayor to sign. Any final questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. So the last item, we do have an executive session, but before that, we'll do a miscellaneous to be able to review the questions and go on anything else here. It looks like online, I was just double checking. There was a question on any news on Arby's. We just covered that a second ago. as far as what the status is on RVs and that it is still moving forward. We just did the amendment. There was a question by an individual about police complaints and concerns with the police department. Our city treasurer had made a comment stating that the best option would be to contact the city administrator. Of course, in the future, we have our public safety board that is public representatives who will be working with the city administrator, the chief of police, to address any issues and concerns. But for the most part, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I would encourage you to contact the city administrator who oversees the city, and he can work with the chief or any other department.
And the
to
board.
discuss-
I will
And the
work with
board
them.
as well, and the council, to discuss any issues that we have. But he would be the number one contact on that. As far as the last comment, I do want to point this out because Jimmy Bencomo had made a comment about, and I'll just read it verbatim here. He couldn't make it to the meeting tonight, but wanted to let the council know that the Lamar Junior Babe Ruth will be hosting the 2023 Colorado Babe Ruth Cal Ripken State Tournament. The dates are June 29th to July the 2nd of 2023. There'll be a total of 35 different teams that'll be here, ages 8 through 15 years old. We hosted it back in 2021, and all the guests loved the atmosphere and enjoyed their time here in Lamar. This also would be the first time in Colorado history that all age divisions will be in one location. So it's a great opportunity for us. He did mention that to me before. Very excited to have the opportunity to showcase our city. So as we move forward to this time next year,
The events planners come in handy.
I'm sure he'll need assistance on planning for this. So you may reach out to Jimmy if you're willing to donate some time and efforts. But it would be good to have some participation there. And of course, Jimmy, if you have any questions, concerns, or need anything, please feel free to contact Rob Evans or Rick Akers or myself, and we'll try to get you the resources we can do to help. All right, I think I covered everything as far as questions online. Are there any questions from the council? Any
I have
other?
one.
Okay.
Did you get contacted about the roof that was at the skate park, right?
Yes.
The roof on a piece of equipment?
So there was a piece of equipment that some kids were on, or something had happened to where it broke. And I had sent him the message on that
Yes.
over the weekend.
Yep.
So he did you find out anything on that?
Not who did it or what happened, but it's gonna be taken care of, so.
Okay. So we'll do some modifications and make it work and fix it, so. Okay, any other questions before we move forward? Seeing none, we will move into the executive session. Do we have a motion to move into executive session? Second. Have a motion and a second to move into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There will be no decisions coming out of the executive session, so we will close briefly after the executive session. So at this time, we'll end our broadcast, and we appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Thank you.